Taryn, we need to figure out what just happened. Let's unload and hit the jacuzzi. I do my best thinking there. Right, I'll get the dolly.
Oh, man.
Okay. All right. All right, welcome to Trash Canon. We are here to talk about a classic action film from the late 80s, Hard Ticket to Hawaii, directed by the one and only indispensable and sadly deceased Andy Sidaris. Joining me today are Desiree.
Hi.
And David.
Hello.
And we will, I might cut this out later. Did I pronounce your name correctly?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, you did perfect.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I had, I've the only criticism I've gotten on my other online stuff is that I'm horrible at pronouncing names.
Oh.
Like, for some reason, I got a flash of terror that I mispronounced Desiree and David as well.
That's ridiculous. But thank you for asking.
No problem. So,
yeah,
with this is actually a very special episode to me, and it kind of vindicates my decision to let the guest pick the movie, because I have actually never seen an Andy Sidaris movie before.
Oh.
Yeah, and I consider myself like a connoisseur of B movies.
Wow.
More horror slasher than action.
Yeah.
But yeah, Andy Sidaris was. I was an Andy Sidaris virgin, and I got my cherry pop, but good. So I had to do some research on him, and unfortunately I couldn't find all that much, at least nothing that was really worth bringing up. But I was very, from Hard Ticket to Hawaii, most of the actors, their careers petered out by the mid-90s or so, unfortunately, or they were just Sidaris regulars and didn't do much beyond that. But the film was actually filmed in Molokai, 100%, which actually kind of surprised me given the type of movies I usually watch, but I think it becomes pretty clear that this is actually Hawaii pretty early on in. And the head actor, Rowdy Abilene, the star, Ron Moss, he went on to have a lucrative run as Ridge Forrester on The Bold and the Beautiful, probably making him the most successful actor from this film.
Yeah, I knew he looked familiar. And we've talked about soaps before. And I knew he looked super familiar, but I could totally see him fitting in with a CBS. I'll say a CBS soap. Just put it that way.
Right, because ABC and NBC soaps have let's say pornier standards for their
exactly.
Not that he was bad looking.
No.
It's just that he had more of a black and white model look, and less of a six pack. Abs model. So I was just curious, why you two wanted to do this movie. I mean, I had fun watching it, as we'll talk about, but I'm just curious why you not only picked an Andy Sidaris movie, but this particular one.
Yeah. Well, I also just recently discovered his oeuvre, and through a friend on Facebook who bought the, DVD set that has every movie he ever made compressed onto 3 discs. And so he was going through and watching them and rating them. And I was, didn't really know, like I would just see these posts on Facebook from this guy and just be like, okay. But then he was posting about this movie and he was raving about it. And I think he shared the scene. It's on YouTube, like the whole scene with the rocket launcher and the blow up sex doll and everything, And I was like, wow, I need to see this movie. Yeah. And so I went on Amazon and, the entire collection is like $7. Mm-hmm. So I just got it. And so that's how I discovered it. And you had messaged me, Chad, and said like, hey, if you can think of any movie you want to do. And I was like, this is it. So that's how that happened.
Yeah, I think that's a piece of it. And also, I think it's also, at least in talking about these types of movies, I think it's important to focus on like why we enjoy them. Like that there's something great about it, and it's not something, you don't have to be snarky about it or just like sarcastic about it. It's like there's some genuinely like amazing moments in this movie that make it worth liking and enjoying. There's some really super awkward things too that make it very uncomfortable to watch as well. Yeah. But there's also like a lot of interesting, weird little subversive things. So, I genuinely enjoy this movie. It is, like I said, it's a love-hate movie. Yeah. And at the same time, like who would ever make something, like who's making movies like this now? Like who's making movies like this now? Yeah. And so I think picking it on my part is it's just, I would say it's the best example of his work, of Andy Sidaris' work.
We watched another one, and then
and that's pretty good, but it's also kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. And then my understanding is that it just, the quality just kind of
deteriorates a little. But there's a couple that I'm intrigued by.
Yeah, we'll work our way through the set
eventually. But this is to me the like prime example of like
it is
a movie that he
and internet research has confirmed that seems to be the consensus. Also, I would just say that my favorite genre of B movie is definitely like the 80s B action movie, with the gratuitous martial arts and like wannabe blockbuster action movies that don't have the budget for it, so they have to kind of work around it. Which is entertaining.
It is. And for me, I also like the kind of like soap opera elements and the borderline like the scenes between the sex in porn. Like those are the things that I really enjoy to watch, like the wooden acting and the line readings and
right in front of my salad.
Yeah, exactly. Those are the moments I like where I'm just like, why is this happening? Like what is going on? And like how are they really like, I'm just always intrigued by that level of acting. And I'm not equating soaps with porn, but there's a certain level of like, get the scene done. Boom, it's done. And with this, I think there's plenty of weird, random stuff like that. So I like that piece of it too. Also, the action's hilarious. So.
Yeah, because I always say that like the reason, and one of the reasons I started doing this show is like, I think the reason people enjoy B movies isn't, well, I should say isn't just pointing out plot holes and continuity errors and stuff like that. Although that's certainly part of it if you listen to me and Lisa talk about Halloween 6 last episode. Especially Michael Myers managing to string up a corpse in the middle of a busy fairground.
What? No.
Oh, you haven't seen it.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you need to listen to her.
Okay, yeah.
We'll check that one out.
Definitely.
But also it's just like it's like what you said. These movies have a certain randomness, even when they're imitating a well-established even when they're imitating a well-established Hollywood formula or imitating even a specific famous movie, there's like things you wouldn't get from a Hollywood production or most Hollywood productions, like a randomness, a wild creativity, that may be a misfire in some way, but it's still unexpected and therefore more entertaining than what you might get. I mean, especially nowadays when Hollywood doesn't want to take risks anymore, and basically middle budget films have essentially died out.
Mm-hmm.
Even indie movies have their own formulas that they adhere to pretty strictly. So
absolutely,
so I think there's definitely something to that. And and as far as research, like the one thing I meant to bring up was I honestly tried really hard to find out where Sidaris was getting his funding.
Right.
I honestly don't think it's as big a deal now as it was then, because you could, I guess, make profits from doing these types of movies in the 80s and 90s still. And it was actually in the aughts that his career died out. And I did find out, though, that he did have the funding to make one more movie in the aughts. It was called Battlefield or Battleground Hawaii.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
Yeah, I forgot to write it down, so I can't remember which title it was. But but for some reason, I think probably because of his ailing health, because he had cancer, I think it never got made. But yeah, I was curious, and I don't know if you know this, if his wife was the producer in a lot of his movies. Here I am talking about keeping good notes, and
yeah, like his wife definitely was a producer in I think almost all of his films, if not all of them.
Yeah.
And she was I feel like a major driving force in, getting them done, definite producer. So I think that's fascinating too, is that this was a joint venture with them.
Yeah.
And something they were expressing their creativity and getting, bankrolling trips to these, to at least to locations that they wanted to spend time in.
Yeah.
But also just to tell these tales that on the face of it, it's what is this? This is a couple steps just above a Mad Magazine, comic in terms of the humor. But it's just fascinating that they would both be in on it.
Yeah.
I think that's cool.
Yeah.
Oh, her name is Arlene.
Arlene, yes. Arlene, yes.
Yeah, or also the movie reminded me of those, during the heyday of Blockbuster, you could rent movies that were porn parodies, but with all the sex scenes cut out and then R-rated.
Yeah.
His movies reminded me a lot of those.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Or I was saying to Desiree when we were rewatching it today, it reminds me of the kind of thing you'd find on basic cable at 11 p.m. at night, just flipping channels, and it's whoa, boobs.
Yeah,
exactly. Because honestly, I mean, his movies are definitely pornier than a lot of films at the time, but honestly, the production values aren't that bad. I mean, some of the special effects are bad, and we'll get into it.
Yeah,
but the actual writing of the film is definitely not up to code, but you could tell that there's a certain degree of professional standards that went into the camera work, the staging, stuff like that. And there weren't really any continuity errors, at least none that I caught, or the sort of thing that you would see in in the type of movies that we usually think of when we talk about B movies.
Right.
So watching it was kind of a weird experience because it had the same level of quality that you would get from maybe a straight to video movie from the era, or even a lower budget studio movie, major studio movie.
Yeah.
But, it was mixed in with the exploitation and bizarre creative choices that I would associate with a much lower budget movie. So it was,
yeah.
Definitely. I mean, it had a cinematographer, you know. I mean, it had, and if anything, it reminds me of just like old episodes of like, you know, Murder She Wrote, or you know, just like where the value isn't bad. You know, you're like, okay, like I'm into it. I mean, I feel like this is a weird admission, but we've just been watching some things randomly for Halloween, and one of those, apparently there was a remake of Dark Shadows in the early 90s. And I would say the production values of that in the early 90s were not that far below this 1987 movie. Like, they're not that above, like, or not as high. They're almost like on the same caliber in terms of the hair, makeup, film stock.
About the same caliber.
Almost the same.
Yeah.
Which is weird to think about. And that's a television show.
That was NBC. Primetime.
Yeah. So.
Oh, definitely. Oh, yeah. I'm speaking of the quality of the work. Another bit of research I meant to throw out at the beginning, but completely forgot. Like I said, this is all a super serious venture.
Yes.
Is that Andy Sidaris? I don't know if you know this, but he actually won an Emmy.
Oh,
I did not see that.
No.
Yeah, his work filming the 1968 Summer Olympics.
Oh, that's right. That's
he was a sports director.
Yeah, he started out as that, which makes me wonder if he ever met Hunter S. Thompson. I believe he did.
They seem like the types that would hang out.
I think so. I like to think they did. Or at least they're chatting now.
Yep, and that's an idea for a movie in of itself.
Oh, yeah. Good Lord, yes.
Totally.
So, why don't you run through or try to run us through the plot of this of this masterpiece?
Well, there's a couple summaries, I think.
Well, I'll freestyle it, and you can correct me if I.
Yeah, but I think
I start wandering.
I think giving people like an overview of like what it is.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. I'll freestyle the overview.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
See, I would rather just read it because that feels a little safer to me.
Well,
but
anyone can look up a synopsis online.
Oh, okay. Well, then why don't you sum it up?
Let's see what organic synopsis spews from my brain.
Okay. Well, what I thought was funny, really quick. Okay,
Yes.
yeah. You go first, and then I'll
mention
something.
Very good. So, like most, if not all, of the Andy Sidaris movies, this is essentially a sort of spy thriller, except they're government agents. They're not really spies.
No.
But it's in that kind of spy action thriller genre, or it wants to be.
Yeah.
Oh, wait, a plot element that actually confused me is Taryn, one of the characters.
Yes.
Yeah, Taryn.
It's terribly confusing.
Taryn, she... wasn't she in witness protection?
Yes.
And she ended up being
So basically we have two female leads who would be Donna and Taryn.
Yeah.
Donna works for the agency, which in later Andy Sidaris movies actually gets a name. Your assumption is that it's DEA, but it's actually not. It's like a super secret government agency.
Yeah.
Anyway, so she works for the agency, and she is kind of been assigned to be the caretaker of Taryn, who is in the witness protection program. And yet is simultaneously being tutored and trained to eventually join the agency.
Apparently.
Yeah, because I love that idea that, somebody goes into the witness protection program and then they're like, drafted into the CIA and sent to assassinate ISIS leaders or something.
Yeah,
oh, right,
exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it is that spy. Yeah, so that's Taryn and Donna.
Mm-hmm.
Donna,
and then,
yeah. And then so Donna, and so this gets complicated slightly because apparently, Donna is having a relationship with Rowdy.
Yes.
And then Rowdy.
Most of these plot points don't actually have much of a bearing on the actual.
But it's only
plot.
complicated in the sense that they can call upon Rowdy and his friend Jade to assist with their case or what the situation that's happening in Molokai.
Yeah.
And so while they are undercover agents, they're drug enforcement agents.
But they're also operating undercover because they run a cargo service.
Yes. So I'm sorry. They're spy. I'm getting mixed up because I'm thinking about those poor drug enforcement agents. Okay. Yes. But we'll go back and say they're part of the agency. And I don't know if Rowdy and Jade they're part of the agency too.
Yes, they are. Yes.
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay.
Yeah. But they're not working undercover.
They are not working undercover.
Right.
Whereas Donna and Taryn are as cargo pilots
who fly
just
cargo
island hoppers
between islands.
Yeah. So they drop things off at along the different islands. And so, it's called Molokai Cargo.
Yes. So that's the basic setup. And essentially it's just, it's your standard 80s fare. Although it's very poorly laid out.
Oh, yeah.
But there's something having to do with a marijuana farm on Molokai that had been like kind of a family operation, but has been presumably, this is never explicitly
stated, yeah.
But presumably has been co-opted and taken over by the mysterious Mr. Chang, who is played by, an Anglo, actor, but there's some clumsy exposition
at the very end, like the last 5 minutes of the movie.
He's supposedly half Chinese,
right?
But he doesn't even look half Chinese.
No, I don't know.
Just like M. Bison from
exactly.
The Legend of Chun-Li.
Yeah,
I like to think that Mr. Chang and M. Bison exist in the same continuity, and are rivals,
right?
So Mr. Chang basically has taken over this pot farm.
With the help of a local drug lord.
With the help of a local drug lord named Seth Rodriguez.
No, Seth
Romero. Excuse me.
Yeah.
Excuse me. And so Seth takes these payments in diamonds for all the marijuana, which must be a lot of marijuana.
That's a hell of a lot
because
of marijuana.
the payment of diamonds that we see is something like, it's 2 boxes with
massive gems.
Like a dozen diamonds in each box.
At least.
And like big.
And big gems.
Big gems. Which, in one of my favorite bits of the movie, are delivered by a self-piloting RC helicopter, which is amazing technology for the time.
That's great.
Is it weird that I actually found that to be pretty clever, like smuggling stuff using?
Oh, I thought that was great.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And so the trouble starts when these local DEA agents, who are,
locals.
They're locals and they're corrupt. I mean, that's another thing I'll say for the movie is that it seems to actually have an understanding of, I have a friend who has lived off and on in Hawaii, and he's told me a lot about it. And it has a very kind of unique culture in and of itself. And part of it, I think I could totally see that happening. These DEA agents who are just we come around once a year, they pay us a little fine, and we let them keep growing their stuff here because it helps the local economy.
Yeah.
All the money just goes back into the local economy.
Which is good.
So who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
And in my sense, I'm cool, bro, do it.
But these are the new merciless drug lords.
So because Seth Romero decided to take this, or Mr. Chang is directing it to take over this family farm, then those drug enforcement agents get basically killed by this new
brutally murdered.
They are brutally murdered. That was brutal.
Yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah.
And so basically, unfortunately, Donna and Taryn have the misfortune of being on the island and essentially almost witnessing, right?
They accidentally stumble across the diamond delivery.
Yeah.
And then Rowdy and Jade are called to the island because of the murder of the agents.
Oh, right.
Or they're aware of the murder of the agents and they're aware that something's going on there.
Right.
There's it's really not well laid out. But there's something having to do with how Rowdy doesn't want Donna to go to Molokai.
Yeah.
And then later,
because he somehow knows there's something else going on.
Yeah,
so I'm is he connected to Mr. Chang? I think he's a double agent.
I think we're going to have to watch Picasso Trigger, which is the follow-up to Hard Ticket to Hawaii.
Yeah. That is a great title, though.
Isn't it?
It's so
Picasso
all of his
Trigger.
titles are amazing, yeah.
Yeah, although Hard Ticket to Hawaii doesn't make sense as a title.
It really doesn't.
No.
It really doesn't. You like the word hard
don't forget
because he had
Chekhov's
another movie
Snake.
called Hard Hunted.
Oh, wait,
so.
what did you say?
Yeah.
Oh, don't forget Chekhov's Snake.
Yes.
And then
yeah.
There's this whole other element where there's a snake that's been infected with some kind of nameless toxin.
It's toxic, and they're cancer-infested rats.
Right. It was somehow contaminated, quote unquote, by cancer-infested rats.
Yeah, toxins from cancer-infested rats.
Yes, which has somehow made
it
snake
evil,
super evil, and super toxic,
and have a personality.
Yeah, it's like actually actively evil.
It has it definitely has a mustache. No, it doesn't. But I mean, it's all but twirling a mustache when it's like doing these things to just make everybody's lives miserable.
Yes.
And so like you were saying, Donna and Taryn do this cargo service. So they were transporting some newlyweds to the island to have an isolated little honeymoon.
Yep.
They were going to drop off a snake, which was actually for a wildlife preserve. But there were 2 snakes being delivered on the same day. They got mixed up because of some jabronis in the warehouse.
Yep.
And then you have basically, and then they encounter these diamonds that are being delivered all at the same time.
Yes.
It's a very dramatic lifestyle.
Yes, which I just want to, take a moment to recognize that when they do encounter the diamond delivery, one of them is carrying a pair of nunchucks, and then the other one has some throwing stars tucked in her socks. So that's the kind of
they're prepared
gratuitous martial arts action I signed up for.
Yeah, Taryn's all about the nunchucks.
Yes, indeed. So basically that sets everything in motion, and then it's just again your classic case of the drug syndicate hitting back hard.
Right. They find out that the diamonds have been removed. So Donna and Taryn take the diamonds from the island.
Yeah.
And they have to go think and talk and analyze these diamonds while being half nude in a jacuzzi.
Well, that's because where Donna does her best thinking.
Right. So,
as the script says.
Yes. So
he's not exaggerating.
No, we're not.
and also pour the diamonds out into the palms of their hands over
jacuzzi
water.
Moving jacuzzi water.
Really, great idea.
But they have to go, and they're wondering about the diamonds.
Yes.
They're curious what's happening.
Yes.
The murders have taken place.
Yes.
Jade and Rowdy are coming to the island.
Yeah.
And they all meet at this hub called Edie's.
Right.
Which is spelled in a very strange way.
Yes.
It's EDY.
Right.
And so Edie is kind of like a local, it's almost like a hotel, bed and breakfast, kind of restaurant space.
She's like
on Molokai.
Yeah, it's very kind of like old noir or you have
there's a bar,
the nightclub with the lady owner / hostess who everyone knows and loves and she can give as good as she gets in terms of repartee and flirting and whatnot. But that's another thing is this movie is absolutely soaked in 80s rape culture.
Yeah.
There are so many uncomfortable incidences of sexual just outright sexual harassment, including the biggest one, which is Andy Sidaris himself has a cameo as a director, and he's meeting with a woman who really doesn't have much else to do in the movie. I don't know when she's there.
She's just there.
But anyway, she says, "You tried to rape me last night." He's like, "That was last night, baby. Today's different, And it's just, that whole scene is borderline John Waters, actually, especially in the way that Andy Sidaris delivers his lines.
Yes.
It's very kind of staccato, monotone delivery.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Which
well,
is
in that character's defense, I think she actually says, "You practically raped me last night."
Yeah,
practically.
Yeah, it was the practically part of that made it brilliant.
Yes. And so then another brilliant aspect of the movie is
because Edie's kind of working with the agency.
Edie's working with the agency.
So she's
an
informant. Yeah. So she informs on the things that are going on. But
there's a mole, there's a plant inside of Edie's who works for Seth. Who is Michelle, who works behind the bar.
Yes.
And
gorgeous,
this gorgeous woman. But the first time we watched the movie, we're like, what's going on with her? There's something about her, but we couldn't put our fingers on it.
Yeah, she's stunning, but
and
we're
then, And then we find out, in Act 2, that Michelle is actually Michael. And is a drag queen working this bar.
Yes.
And
I didn't see it coming either.
I know.
Yeah.
It was good.
It was great. No, I think for me, another reason I love this movie is because of Michelle. And I think that what's interesting to me about his movies in general is that it's this weird, it's how do I describe this? It's this strange, heterosexual, it's not a utopia. It's this is what heterosexuals do, written in crayon, And so it's kind of strange to be like women take their tops off in front of each other constantly and shower in front of each other. And women just, before you have to go pick up your friends at the airport, you're just going to change into another outfit in a very provocative way.
Yeah, feeling yourself up.
Tousling your hair while you're doing it. It's just a really strange filter. Yeah, it's a weird filter. So having Michelle in there makes it totally queer and fascinating. Because she's performing this feminine. I mean, she's so feminine. Like,
she is, and Taryn. What doesn't she get the line? Sorry, I thought I had it in front of me. The line. Of course,
I think I remember the line.
I'm a woman.
Yes.
Of course, I'm soft.
Yes, there's that, and then there's also this strange thing when Michelle realizes that there's some thing that she has to leave the bar and go out into the world as Michael. And so she goes into like the women's changing room or restroom or whatever. And this other woman comes up to her and just starts talking to her about like keeping her body in shape. And it's so strange.
Keeping her tits firm
or whatever. It's so weird. And so watching like Michelle, like watching her like just engage with this and like casually smoking the cigarette and like listening. It's so brilliant. And then,
well, in fact, like the actor is definitely playing it like, quit, like,
stop.
Quit flashing your boobs in my face, basically. Like, I don't want to look at that.
Like, I get it.
Yeah.
So weird. So there's a lot of presumptions about this character.
Yes.
But then she changes out of drag in like 5 minutes, which is amazing.
Also impressive.
So impressive.
De-drags in 5 minutes.
In 5 minutes. And is like out with like glasses and like, I'm Michael. And I'm like, I'm working with this drug lord. Like, I love it.
So then they kidnap Edie.
Yeah.
And, basically they've attempted to find out, they're trying to find out where the diamonds are, essentially. Yeah. And they've attempted to find that out by, breaking into Taryn and Donna's house.
Yeah, the drugs, like Seth's group.
Yeah. And that doesn't work. Well, it kind of works because they get one box of diamonds, but they're still looking for this other box.
Mm-hmm.
And then, that's another great little moment is that Seth gets shot in the face.
Yeah, it's awesome.
And so he spends the rest of the movie with this giant plaster on his face, which is
that's good.
Hilarious. But anyway, so they're still looking for this other box of diamonds. They're convinced for some reason that Edie has it.
Yeah.
And so they kidnap her. That leads to a really bizarre scene, which I wish there'd been more of, where Edie gets tortured by this like super butch female bodybuilder with nunchucks.
Yeah.
She gets like all the screen time, but then like doesn't really go anywhere, unfortunately.
No, I know. You were wondering about her.
Yeah. No, I want more about her.
She even gets her own posing scene where she just like stares intimidatingly
it's a weird montage.
at the camera.
Yes. Yeah. She's making love to the camera.
It's so weird, but amazing.
Yes. And so anyway, this all culminates on a rescue mission to Seth's compound. Mm-hmm. They get Edie. They kill everybody except for Seth.
So like Donna, Taryn, Jade, and Rowdy all they are armed to the teeth.
Yes,
they are going in. But there's a couple things like I think with Rowdy and Jade that we have to talk about. Well, like that their encounters on the island with the drug lord and his group.
Yeah, we'll circle back around to that because Rowdy and Jade have showed up by this time and they're assisting. But yeah, just really, really briefly, we've been introduced to their favorite piece of armament, which is a 4-tube rocket launcher that they use for pretty much everything.
And it has varying degrees of strength.
Yeah, it's capable of simply blowing somebody through a screen door or blowing up a helicopter.
Or blowing the head off of a snake.
Or just simply blowing the head off a snake, but leaving the rest of the snake body intact.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's your classic, raid on the enemy compound, sequence, including, a totally tacked on martial arts fight that didn't need to happen.
No. Useless.
And death frisbee.
Yes.
Frisbee?
There's the frisbee. Oh yeah.
There's a death frisbee.
So, and so then we have what's really kind of a bizarrely anticlimactic finale confrontation of Mr. Chang, where Rowdy and Donna just kind of show up at his office, beat the crap out of his bodyguard with like very little resistance, and then shoot Mr. Chang, with this gigantic, 357 Magnum that literally blows him out the window. and you know,
and he drops like 35 stories like to his death.
And while everyone else is like down on the street, like parked in a red zone, like witnessing it and just going like, oh, I hope everyone else is okay.
Yeah.
And then, you know, epilogue on the yacht.
Malibu Express.
Which is named the Malibu Express after Andy Sidaris' first movie, Malibu Express, which also exists in the canon of this movie.
Yes.
It's very strange.
Yeah.
Very.
Oh, and the movie poster too.
And the movie poster, yeah. Very metatextual.
Yeah.
So, anyway, that's the basic plot. But yeah, we can definitely talk about the rocket launcher, the frisbee, everything else.
Well, they end on the Malibu Express basically with the situation where Taryn isn't officially an agent, so she doesn't have to turn the diamonds that she has been hiding.
The other box of diamonds.
So she's going to keep it and basically like get rich off of these diamonds and like
share the wealth
with her quote unquote friends. So
yeah, she gets to keep the diamonds for some reason.
Which is so weird.
Yeah, it doesn't sound right. But
that is not legal.
It's like, well, I guess since we killed everyone, we don't. This is literally what they say. Like, since we killed everyone, we don't need evidence. So, you know, to prosecute a crime because there's nobody left to prosecute. Essentially, like everyone's dead,
and they're all baddies anyway.
Yeah, everyone is dead. So, hey, great, fun times.
Yeah.
Oh, but this movie did have more endings than Lord of the Rings because you also have. You also have that scene that was totally not ripped off of the original Halloween where, is it Jade or Taryn? Or Donna or Taryn? I can't remember.
I think it's Donna. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is Donna and Taryn look like they came out of the same cloning machine. Right. They're 80s blondes through and through. So.
They are.
Especially when they get their hair wet. Because, you know, when normally one has poofier hair than the other, that's how you can tell them apart.
Donna has the poofier hair.
But when they get their hair wet, you really can't tell them apart.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah, and Donna has an amazing confrontation with the snake, actually.
Yes.
But, yeah, we'll talk about
that. And Seth. And Seth, who goes through several Michael Myers-esque deaths only to step back up. But yeah, Seth has a really, really bad day. And that's why I called it Chekhov's snake, because the snake just pops up when he's trying to kill Donna and finishes him off after Donna practically killed him twice already. And it's kind of brilliant.
It is great.
Oh, and Rowdy banging through the door on a motorcycle, and even though he couldn't have known if anybody was standing there, so he could have totally accidentally killed Donna.
or even that Donna was in danger. I mean, there was no way for him to know that.
No. You know? No, there wasn't. And
unless the implication is somehow he tracked Seth to that house by by scent or by following his tracks or something.
They just seemed to intuitively know that Seth was going to go to Donna and Taryn's house.
Yes.
But the thing about that whole confrontation and Donna, just basically mutilating Seth, and really trying to kill him on multiple levels, I don't know. I just found that really fascinating and because she just kept going and she just was so I don't know, and then Donna also in terms of her performance, she was just full of all this rage and screaming and I just found that really great. And, I just think the fact that she was not only counteracting this drug lord or attacking this drug lord, but then also attacking the snake. I don't know. She's just such a badass. And I had to admire that on some level.
Yeah, I mean, I think the Halloween. I mean, I'm going to call it an homage because they had to know what they were doing with that. But the Halloween homage was part of the larger bit of that, which was definitely riffing on that whole final girl thing, where she's soaked and bloody and exhausted, and then she's oh god, it's finally over, and then of course something else happens, which culminates with her trying to toweling herself off with toilet paper as she sits next to the toilet in her bathroom, and then throwing the paper into the toilet and then hitting the flush. And hitting the flush activates the snake, who literally explodes the toilet, amidst this mysterious background glow. I don't know where the light's coming from.
Well, I think it's because the snake is so toxic. It's just
it's radioactive.
Glowing. It's radioactive. It's that toxic of a snake. But we also thought that with Seth's the way Seth was completely just attacked. Like, it was a little bit much for like a local drug lord.
Yeah, I said to Desiree. Yeah, I said to Desiree, like, he really hasn't earned this this drawn out death scene, because like we haven't really seen him be that horrible. I mean, like, yeah, he ordered the torture of somebody, but it wasn't even like the torture was just like kind of beating her with nunchucks. Like, I mean, she wasn't. They didn't like pull her fingernails out or anything. No. He didn't really, personally do anything egregious. He had his henchmen do some bad stuff, but that was about it. But he has this like super drawn out death. I mean, he gets stabbed, he gets impaled, he gets bitten by a toxic snake and dies this horrible, painful death.
Punched in the face a bunch of times.
Yeah, but then again, he showed up to kill Donna with just like a switchblade. So, like, what'd you run out of guns? Like, it was strange.
Yes, that pretty much sums up, I think.
Yeah.
Most of the movie.
Yeah. But there's a lot.
There's a lot going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, because there's also like the out of nowhere scene where the snake kills a photographer and a model that the protagonist.
The newlyweds.
Yeah, those are the newlyweds. Yeah.
Oh, those are the newlyweds. Oh my god! Wow. Wow, this movie's plot was like a David Lynch movie. I have to rewatch it to piece it together.
You really do. It makes more sense the second time. And they're newlyweds who want to, they kind of are alluding to the fact that they're possibly nudists. We really like the natural thing, like being in nature.
We want to be alone.
We want to be alone. We don't want anyone around. So it's like, they're kind of like these nudists who want to take just horny pictures of each other, like, for their.
And yet, ironically, that woman is one of the only ones in the movie who doesn't take her top off.
Well, it was in her contract. Probably.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, almost definitely.
And of course, he's taking photos of her with a Polaroid, which is like
even more strange.
Yeah.
And then we come, like, so they do get attacked by the snake, as you said, Chad. And then, like, what's funny is that when Donna and Taryn discover the newlyweds have been mauled by the snake and like completely killed,
dissolved even. They're like
by
puddles
their
of goo.
puddle, yeah. That they find the Polaroid camera and it goes off and they pull out a photo and it's of the snake.
The snake is as it's striking at the guy.
It's striking at the camera and it's like totally posing, like, sup, like selfie level.
Plus the level,
very self-aware snake,
and the level of overacting from the two actresses.
When they discover the bodies, it's amazing.
They're like screaming, and Desiree's like, at least one of these people is a trained agent, like, who deals with dead people all the time. Like,
need to calm down.
Why is she freaking out?
Yeah, they're pretty upset about that. So yeah, there's that whole piece, and then there's Shades, who is like the kind of like.
Can we talk about Shades?
We can talk about Shades if you want to.
Yeah, he's the He's the Brett Kavanaugh of the film.
Yeah.
So.
Wait, is he the guy who plays Frisbee?
Yes. He's wearing those mirror shades, those aviators.
Yes.
Yeah. I love the setup with him. It was like because he's the guy who pulls the trigger on the cops while they're hanging helplessly in the rope trap.
Totally.
Yeah, but at the same time, he's like struck up a friendship with like a local Hawaiian and plays Frisbee with her.
While wearing his Uzi slung over his shoulder, like you do.
So weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, he develops this rapport with this young woman who comes onto the beach and like plays Frisbee with him, and he's like so into it, and then he like really gets into it. Like, he's into it when he takes his Uzi off. Like, okay, wait a second, I gotta take this off so I can really throw this Frisbee.
Yeah.
And then Rowdy takes advantage of this relationship with the girl and Shades, and their like regular routine of playing Frisbee in the afternoon, and like, hey man, I want to throw Frisbee with you. And then
it's I want to throw with you, like, because it's serious business, right? I want to throw with you. Let's see how you throw.
I just think they couldn't say Frisbee. Like,
you think so? Because I think it was like, I think that was just like 80s Frisbee culture. Maybe was just saying throw.
Really?
Yeah, that was my guess. It had that feel about it,
What do you think, Chad?
I don't know. I'm actually curious now. Let me. I have to look this up because I'm such a research nerd.
I played Frisbee a lot. Like, we played Frisbee a lot with like my uncles and stuff. Mm-hmm. So like, we never said throw. Like, let's throw.
Right.
Like, it was never any of that stuff.
It had the feel to me of like, maybe not Andy Sidaris himself, but somebody had some input on the script and was like, oh no, you call it throwing. That's what you call it. Or like he knew somebody who was like really into Frisbee and like that's what they said.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because like Rowdy shows up with like an official like Frisbee brand, carrying case.
Yeah.
With like compartments for multiple frisbees. Like, I mean, it's like he's trying to look like a hobbyist. And do you want to talk about the banana sling since we're talking about
Oh my God.
Rowdy showing up on the beach?
Yeah. When he was running through I'm like, he didn't have a down belt, jock strap, nothing. He was just like freeballing it, wearing this banana sling, like just running across, like running with the girl and I was like, what the hell? Like, this is awesome. Like, I love this. This is amazing.
Yeah, after all those tits.
I know. It's just like, oh my God. All right. It's cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he goes up to basically get rid of Shades is like the main guard. He's pretty deadly.
He's deadly.
He's deadly. We know this.
And I just want to point out him being called Shades is canonical to the movie. There's a quick line that I think I did miss the first time around.
Yeah, me too.
But like one of the agents says, his name is Shades. Like that.
It's just so good.
Like that's his given name. That's on his birth certificate, you know. Not he's called Shades or they call him Shades, but his name is Shades.
Yeah.
Which is hilarious.
Yeah.
Also, like, how did they find that out? Like, they pull a dossier on him?
They probably did.
Yeah.
But yeah, so then Rowdy pulls out this crazy frisbee and it has all these razor blades around it. And so it basically, you know.
Which he's custom made the night before.
He has. Yeah. He's really proud of it, I can tell. And so he throws it at Shades and Shades tries to catch it and he cuts his hands and his throat and it's just a mess. So that's the end of Shades.
Oh, and then Rowdy pumps his fist in victory.
Yeah, Rowdy's really, yes, I did it. Like he accomplished his goal. I think he was trying to get revenge for killing those DEA agents.
Definitely. But the most hilarious thing to me about that scene is that, you know, Colleen is the woman who's there.
Right.
And as Shades is like taking his Uzi off because he's, you know, going to really show Rowdy what for with his throwing. He turns to Colleen and says, "You better get out of here." And she looks at him and then he like pulls a gun out of his frisbee case, you know, just to be like, you know, come on, get, you know, and she runs. And then, of course, there's the great thing where he calls out to her and says, "Hey, Colleen, you got a great ass." And then she goes, "You too, cowboy."
No,
or something.
Pilgrim.
There we go. Anyway, but the funny thing about that is, like, he had a gun. Like, as soon as Shades put his Uzi down, he could have just pulled his gun out and shot him. Like, why did he need the razor blade frisbee?
Because he wanted to torture him. Because those DEA agents, those guys, you know, those were some good guys. Mm-hmm. So he was basically avenging their demise, I think.
He could have avenged it with a gun.
Anyway, yeah.
But then we wouldn't have had the razor blade frisbee.
Hello. So. But yeah. But also,
maybe,
yeah.
Oh, I was just going to say maybe they need to justify the research funding they get for weapons.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true. That's a good point.
Another absolutely bonkers action sequence is the Jade and Rowdy they're in a Jeep. They're heading from the airport to meet with Donna and Taryn for the first time since they got onto Molokai.
Mm-hmm.
And
before you go on with that, though, let me throw in, you were right. Frisbee is trademarked, and it's actually gone to the federal courts.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
So they could have, I want to throw a discus.
Yeah, I guess they just had to say throw.
Yeah,
that was your educational moment, listeners.
Thank you, Chad.
Thank you. Yeah, we learned something new all the time.
Thanks.
And that actually makes me feel better because it just sounds so goddamn pretentious to be like, "Let's see how you throw." So I'm glad that people didn't actually talk like that in real life.
Yeah.
Oh, they probably do.
Well, some of them did. Yeah.
But anyway, bonkers action sequence.
Probably the most well-known scene amongst people who know this movie or know of this movie.
Yes.
Is Rowdy and Jade driving to Edie's in a Edie's you know,
we're in Jeep.
Yeah, like company Jeep apparently. And so they're just driving down the highway and there's a guy, and this is again one of those deals.
So weird.
What is it? Cabin Fever has the martial arts kid who wants pancakes.
Yeah, pancakes.
And the whole story with that is like he was just like hanging out on set, and the director was like saw him like doing his like karate stuff, and he's like, I got to put this kid in the movie. So he wrote that scene for, you know, just specifically to have this kid in it.
Oh man.
So this is very similar where it's like you can tell they had someone who could like do some skateboarding
tricks,
like, you know, do a handstand on a skateboard, and they're like, let's write that in.
Yeah.
That doesn't explain the sex doll though.
Right.
But they see a guy doing a handstand going down the highway on a skateboard.
Yeah.
They surmise that he quote unquote must have been smoking some heavy doobies. Which, you know, I mean, in Hawaii, it's completely out of the question.
No.
He
and it fits in with the theme.
Yeah. He skates past them. He's one of the goons.
The flunkies.
One of the flunkies who confronted Donna and Taryn over the diamonds initially and got his ass kicked for it.
Yeah.
Meets up with the other goon who got the throwing star in his shoulder.
Yeah.
And is obviously still hurting from it.
Right.
They jump in their Subaru or whatever. And
it happens to have a blow up doll in it.
That happens to have a blow up sex doll in it.
Yeah.
Take off after Rowdy and Jade. No explanation given for why they were there, why this guy was...
How they knew.
Like, I guess they've set up this ambush somehow. But, like, it's a really elaborate ambush to set up, especially with the guys, handstand skateboarding like that. Take off after
he rides by them for no reason, basically.
It's like, was he patrolling the highway by doing handstands on his skateboard? We're not really sure.
We don't know.
Take off after the Jeep, drive past it, take a shot at the tire. This is the only real continuity error, is they shoot the tire out, and then like later, Rowdy and Jade just drive off without a flat. Like the car's smoking and breaking down, but the tire is not flat.
Right.
They shoot the tire. Jade is somehow hit by shrapnel, quote unquote.
Somehow.
And and then they stop the vehicle. The skateboard guy jumps back out of the Subaru, grabs the shotgun and his skateboard and also the sex doll.
Right.
Starts skateboarding back towards them with the shotgun concealed behind the sex doll as he's skateboarding. And then I guess Rowdy guns the engine on the car and runs the guy down, which then hurls him into the air. And then Jade has the rocket launcher.
No. Rowdy has the
because Jade's
Jade is
driving. It doesn't matter. Anyway,
No, it really doesn't matter.
Rowdy grabs the rocket launcher, shoots the guy in midair. He blows up.
Smithereens.
And then turns the rocket launcher and shoots the sex doll, which is,
also flying up in the air.
Fluttering down. Yeah, because was thrown up into the air as well.
And blows
that up. And
that's pretty much it.
And that's but it's an amazing sequence.
It is.
It's one of the most jaw-dropping sequences I've ever seen in a movie like that.
Yeah,
so
it's pretty amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because they play dramatic music up to the point where the sex doll gets blown up.
Yeah, totally. Another piece of the movie that's very strange is the Jimmy John Jackson little sequence of him interviewing athletes, and it's this just random guy who's a sportscaster. He's
like Taryn's kind of friend with benefits.
Yeah. Apparently. Yeah. And he interviews these athletes, and it just seemed like this really strange little hodgepodge of
Well, it was kind of a salute to Andy Sidaris' origins, because Andy Sidaris is playing the director of the sports cast, and they're interviewing these athletes who are on the island for some event. And there's a hilarious sequence which I shall not repeat.
Yeah, no, but it's pretty funny.
But yeah, it's he's interviewing these two football players, and he asks them what call they made, and it's
I don't
hilarious and foul-mouthed. So, and involves the N-word, so I won't repeat it.
But it is funny.
Yeah, it is funny. It's very funny.
Yeah.
And he's convinced he's going to get fired, and
But Jimmy John just doesn't really. He's just like Taryn's little fuckboy, basically.
He is, and
which is kind of great. I love that.
Yeah, yeah.
He's just kind of like a little side piece that we just see.
Yeah.
And then we're just like, oh, I guess that's Taryn's
there's
kind
this
of
whole
boyfriend
extended
guy.
sequence where they're out on the beach, apparently all night, but then the timing is really weird because it's seems like it's dawn, but then it cuts to a night scene with the snake, but then it cuts back to them in daylight on the beach, and then there's a reference to them being on the beach all night.
Yeah.
That whole bit with Jimmy John is so unnecessary.
Yeah, it is. But I love it.
Again, it feels like with the nunchuck woman, the torture woman, it feels like a setup for some kind of later movie.
Yeah, maybe.
Because Jimmy John is present in the finale.
He is.
When they go to kill Mr. Chang.
Again, he's just Taryn's accessory guy, which I think is cool. Yeah. I'm okay with that. Yeah. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it.
Wow.
It's a complicated, strange film, but it's fun.
Yeah. And somehow only an hour and a half.
Yeah,
I know. It gets squished in.
Yeah, it doesn't. The movie has some pacing issues, but it doesn't overstay its welcome.
Right.
No, not at all.
Right.
But there are just those moments of creativity, not just the infamous skateboarding and blow up doll scene, but also the intro credits, which take place in the factory, and like there's boxes being moved around, and each one has a different name on it, and and like I wasn't sure if that was like an homage or a ripoff of another famous credit sequence, or if that's original to the film. But it was
I don't know.
It seems pretty original, and it seemed also that it was kind of tacked on at the same time, because there's like the Hard Ticket to Hawaii like theme song that gets played
while they're flying
while the ladies are you know doing their cargo job. And so I'm like, there's 2 opening credit sequences to this. They decided to just throw this warehouse one, which is very creative and fun, for sure.
Yeah.
But it's also like, like I thought I already sat through opening credits, but here I am again.
Yeah, because the movie has its own theme song, and there's these, all these shots of the flying over the islands
beautiful.
that you would be playing credits over. And it's almost like they changed their mind at the last minute and filmed the warehouse scene.
Yeah.
There's even dialogue in the credit sequence too. Anyway, it's weird.
And the shots of Hawaii were fantastic, and I think, because they say in the credits that that this hotel let them film around. So I kind of wonder if it was like oh no, my MST3K knowledge is fading me. But what's that movie with Joe Don Baker that was filmed in Malta?
Oh no!
Yeah.
But I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like the government of Malta actually funded the production, so I kind of wonder if they got some help from that hotel, because they were like, let's promote our hotel with this porny action movie.
Right.
Yeah, and I think like the choice of Molokai too is really fascinating, because
it's not just for lepers anymore.
No, apparently not. It's just like but it's just like, like out of all the islands, like that one. I mean, it's gorgeous. I mean, it's beautiful.
Well, again, I think maybe the Molokai, like city government, well, not like city government, but
okay.
The council or whoever,
county or whatever.
I don't know how they arrange islands on Hawaii, but anyway, whoever the administrative people are in charge on Molokai were probably like, you can film here, and it would be, promotional, because I know they do have that PR problem.
Definitely.
Oh, that's the leper island or whatever, Still to this day,
Yeah, I'd have no problems going. I just would be scared of like a snake that was.
I'd be scared of toxic,
contaminated by
contaminated snake.
Cancer rats, apparently.
Cancer rats.
Well, yeah, and that's what kind of made me compare Andy Sidaris to my own favorite filmmaker, Ken Russell. It's like this guy with really great directing skills, but also with like these bizarre sexual perversions that just sort of prevent him from ever having any chance of enjoying mainstream success.
The fact that he's like a dirty old man who loves big tits and blondes,
like the dark, like Edie has like a strawberry blonde hair. No brunettes get a topless scene.
No, it's
much
all
to
blondes.
David's chagrin.
But it's all like 80s blondes and then one strawberry blonde.
But it's just like, it's like when that kind of, when your interests just leech into like anything you do, I'm like, this must be a major focus of your life, which makes me curious what his wife looked like.
She was blonde.
She's blonde. I love it. Yeah. Good for her.
Yeah, she had the full 80s hair too from the couple pictures I've seen.
Yeah.
Arlene, you're awesome.
She still runs the website for all their movies and stuff too. So.
I think that's sweet.
I do too.
But that leads me into the question, which I have to ask because we have Desiree here. What's your overall impression of the movie's gender politics? Like you kind of touched on it earlier, but
a little bit. But it was funny because when you were talking about Ron Moss, like that's his name, as the main actor. But like for me, like Donna and so Donna Spear and Hope Marie Carlton play Donna and Taryn. And they have the most screen time. Like they have almost all the words. I mean, all the spoken parts. Like I mean, they're very much in it.
Dialogue.
Jeez. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. In my defense, I just said that because I was looking right at the IMDb page, and he's credited first, and my brain was like,
which is typical.
Yeah.
It's such a load. But so there's that, and then like what I find fascinating too is that like the women are totally in charge in this movie. Like, I mean, Seth is his own little drug lord thing, but he has like, I mean, Seth's like group is like, again, in terms of like the gender politics and like sexuality, like Seth's group is super queer. Like, I was totally reading like Seth's like one of his like main younger boy henchman guy. I'm like, that's totally Seth's boyfriend. Like they're boyfriends. That's what I've made it up in my mind.
That baby face guy.
Like totally. And then he has like this drag queen, like, you know, accomplice as well. And then like, it's just like the super queer group, like drug lords.
But sort of incidental as well. Like it's not
incidental.
It's not in the coded way of movies of that time where, they're queer, so they must be punished.
They must be evil. They just happen to all be like this ragtag group, right? Yeah. And then we have like this like super heteronormative, heterosexual, and like bordering on like, kind of powerful women, like women rule the world kind of thing that men are like, oh, well, it's, you know, women, like, they kind of like, you know, we have to listen to what they say, like, they know what's best kind of thing, because they're so beautiful and powerful and stuff like that. Right. So I find that, like, because, like, Donna and Taryn, but they're also very, like the way that they go about their work. I mean, Donna's very professional, I think, aside from the screaming at the bloody bodies, but I think they're
that's
like
the exception that proves it.
It is. Yeah. But I think they're like actually like super strong and powerful, and I think that's kind of neat to see. And then Edie runs the whole like, you know, runs that hub there on Molokai, and like I don't know, I just think it's a very female forward, you know, movie.
Despite all the topless scenes.
Despite the topless scenes, but then like in that sense, it's kind of like Amazonian, you know, in a way where it's just like, this is incidental nudity. It's titillating, haha, of course. Yeah. But at the same time, it's just kind of like, oh, okay. Yeah, like, all right. I mean, you could totally like see it a different way, but I guess just from my perspective is like kind of having a more sex positive view on it. They're sexually active. That's totally fine. There are some women who, yes, get harassed and by men, and they're like objects, of course, but they're also kind of powerful and they make decisions. Whereas Taryn, like with like Jimmy John Jackson, the sportscaster guy that Taryn's met, like she's like, yeah, that's my guy, like picks him up and is like, yeah, let's go do this. Like, I just feel like there's some autonomy there. And I'm okay with that, but there are definitely some like weird stuff that I'm like, it's the same old, but there's enough that amuses me. And Donna's the one who blows up the helicopter. Yeah. Donna's the one who shoots Mr. Chang and like launches him out the window. Yes. Like.
Oh yeah, because there's a whole running gag about how Rowdy can't hit anything except if he has his rocket launcher. Right. And so he and Donna have pulled guns on Mr. Chang. Mr. Chang throws a sword at them. Yeah. And Donna's the one who blows him away. And then Rowdy afterwards says, thanks, I probably would have missed.
Right.
If, you know.
Yeah. So like, Donna is really like, she's a powerful agent. So I feel like, at least compared to other movies that I've seen in this, you know, like other Sidaris movies, it's like these women are really powerful. Like they really are. Yeah. And I'm cool with that. So that's my take on it. But it's hard to kind of be like promote, like kind of having like a more sex positive. That's even an antiquated term for it. A lot of people don't. I'm finding that I've been just observing the way that being okay with sex in film and nudity in film, like, I understand it. That's obviously highly exploitative, but like, I think that sex is something that just people are still so uncomfortable with that they can hide behind the fact of like slut shaming and different things where they're just viewing anything that's sexual is like, it's bad. Yeah. And I'm not into that at all. Yeah. So, I don't know. That's a long-winded response to your question. I hope it addressed.
Oh no. That's totally fine. It kind of goes along with what we've been talking about. Because like that's the other thing that I found kind of jarring about the movie is like the tone. Like you get stuff like the lines like where Taryn says, you know, I'm a woman, of course I'm soft, and like the whole crazy scene, and like, but you know, it's mixed in with really assertive moments of female badassery that really wasn't common in other movies of the time. So it was like somehow both below the standards of other movies and above it at the same time, and it's just like. It's just really interesting, and I just kind of wonder how much Arlene's influence shaped some of this, or if Sidaris himself had some interesting ideas about gender that played out in these movies. So.
Yeah, I think I'd like to think that at least for this movie, because Malibu Express is a whole different animal when it comes to like the way women are depicted. Like that I have more problems with.
Yeah.
But with this,
that's definitely more exploitation level.
But this one, there's these really, like you said, these are moments where both are existing, right? So there's these terrible moments, like you practically raped me and all that kind of stuff. And then there's also these just really great empowering moments where women are just totally autonomous and doing what they need to do to get the job done, right? And even like claiming the diamonds, like that's like ownership. Like there's so much ownership where they're just like, I'm going to take this, I'm going to do this, like this is what I'm going to do, like haha.
Yeah.
Which is fascinating. And I think both exist. I mean, because both exist in our world, you know, and I think that people just don't necessarily like to look at the sexual parts of that. And what does it mean for a woman to just have like a casual sexual relationship with like a sportscaster guy who's cute? Like there's no shame to that. Whereas Malibu Express has more about shaming and good women and bad women. That's a whole other different element. There's like the good girl and the bad girl. And it's a really fascinating, like that's a whole other thing. But this is more like, no, these women are strong. They're going to do what they're going to do to get the job done. Like, and But then there's other women who don't get that advantage. And like, for instance, like Terrence is another thing where I think she refers to Michelle as like a female wannabe.
Yeah.
And so like, it's like, well, like we don't really know like Michelle's story. Like we don't know if Michelle's just doing drag as a spy for Seth. Like we don't know that. Right. We don't know if like she's really a drag queen. I mean, I'm thinking that the actor is actually like,
I looked him up and he won Miss Gay America 1977.
Okay.
So
really?
Like, obviously gorgeous, right? Yeah. So I just think like that's a whole other...
And also seems to have played female roles in the other movies he was in. He played a hooker in 1987's Surrender, played a character named Anne in Talking Walls, character named Isadora Shepperton in Murder Me, Murder You. So
wow.
Yeah.
So, and that's Michael Andrews.
Michael Andrews, yeah.
Yeah. And so I think like the way that like this gender, like this person who kind of is fluid in their gender expression, the way that they're depicted, I mean, isn't like the things that are said about the person, those to me stand out the most. Like, that's annoying. Yeah. But the fact that they even are in this movie and they're part of this like evil gang and kind of powerful is like, oh, that's kind of cool. Like, I think that's neat.
Yeah. I mean, he even gets a whole shootout scene out of drag.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So anyway, so those are my thoughts really.
It's definitely an interesting movie, and I definitely want to watch more Sidaris movies. But what do you all think about it being part of the Trash Canon as being a worthy B movie? Like, would you even consider it so bad it's good, or is it like legitimately a good film?
That's a good question. I mean, I think it is. You can say it's something so bad it's good, meaning that it's good in ways that the filmmakers didn't intend. Yeah. You know, where it's so bad that, like, you know, your Plan 9 from Outer Space or whatever. It's so bad you're laughing at it because of its horrible acting, sets, plot, whatever. Or something can be so bad it's good because you know, it's trying to be something that it's not. You know, and then that's entertaining. This one, I think everything was intentional. I think Sidaris absolutely knew what he was doing. You know, he was having fun with it. But it is still, I would not call it a good movie because it has, as we've said, it has major issues with like sequencing pacing, of scenes. You know, crucial information is delivered, and like I didn't get that Taryn was in the witness protection program the first time I watched it. Okay. I knew she was like a trainee, but I didn't really get the whole witness protection element. You know, right? Yeah. You know, so it has these things that are easy to miss because the exposition isn't presented very well, right? Or you know, like there's pacing issues. There's a weird anticlimactic climax. You know, so I would never call it a good movie, but I loved it because of the sort of brio and daring that went into making it. Like, I'm, like, we're gonna have these people running around with a quadruple tubed rocket launcher and blowing stuff up, and sex dolls getting blown up, and toxic radioactive snakes, and it was great. I loved the daring that went into it, and that's what made me love the movie.
It's good for like its sense of fun. It is intentional. It's not like it's unintentionally.
So I think it is intentionally trashy.
It's intentionally trashy.
It belongs in trash cinema because it wanted to be there.
Yeah.
Not because it was trying not to be.
Exactly. It wasn't trying to be something it's not.
Yeah.
No, I completely agree. Yeah, you summed it up really nicely.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, and I think Andy Sidaris is interesting because usually the rule is that B movies are born, not made. They're made out of someone's ambition, but lack of technical skill, or just because they're completely insane. Like,
right.
Like the mind that brought us Birdemic.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so it's just like the fact that he was intentional. These are the kinds of movies that he wanted to make. These are the types of things he wanted to shoot. These are the things he wanted to see. And then in conjunction, like with his wife being a producer, like I just find that to be very, like, I like that. I like when there's like collaboration between, partners to create something that they enjoy. And I think to have that as a piece of intentional B movie, love it. I think that's great. And I think that's subversive in its own way too.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that's a great note to end on, unless either of you want to throw something else in.
I think we covered it pretty well.
I think we did, man. That movie, just check it out. Like, it's just, there's going to be a lot of boobs. There's going to be a lot of butts. But overall, it just is so much fun. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Well, I was your host, Chad Denton. You can find me at chadsdenton.com. Also, I run the YouTube shows Hollywood Hates History and Before Stonewall. And Desiree, David, let the good people know where they can find you.
Oh, man.
Well, I am at sirlarkins.com, and also the Esoteric Order of Roleplayers. That's our tabletop role-playing game actual play podcast. Desiree, you don't really...
I'm weird in my presence, but I am everywhere and nowhere.
All right. Well, thanks for joining me. And
our pleasure.
This was so fun.
Yeah,
we gotta do this again. All right. Well, and we'll join us next time. Bye.